As some of you may know, my favourite psychological theory is Sigmund Freud's structure of the mind, specifically the tripartite personality aspect, and there is actually a significant reason behind this. You see, one day, I don't recall the exact year, it was either year 5 or year 6, but I remember suddenly freezing when I heard someone calling my name. I even recall the exact place it happened. There were plenty of people around, and I had just parted ways with my friend, so I didn't think anything of it. Maybe they had just forgotten to tell me something. But when I turned around, no one was trying to talk to me. In fact, it felt like there was absolutely no one there, despite me seeing multiple people right in front of me. I shrugged and continued walking home. But someone kept talking to me, and then I decided to talk back. We had an interesting conversation. Not interesting because the topic was interesting, but just interesting because of how natural it felt. The next day, bullies do what they do best, and were trying to bully me once again. But this time, I didn't care. I remember randomly swearing at one of them at the advice of this other voice I heard. I got in trouble for that, of course, but hey, it worked, didn't it? Bullies didn't mess with me from then on. After this event, I started calling this other voice Shadow. I was like 10, and I was a big fan of Sonic and Pokemon, so yeah, shut up. Up until year 8, I was doing pretty well in school, but more importantly, I was doing quite well socially. At the risk of sounding very edgy and over the top, manipulation became second nature to me, and I'm ashamed to say, but unfortunately I even became a bit of a bully. My stellar reputation helped me avoid a lot of the accusations by other students, however. So, what happened in year 8? What changed? Well, all of a sudden, I just suddenly realised that this was all wrong. The people I was hanging out with were wrong. I was avoiding responsibility, and that was wrong. And certainly the bullying itself was wrong. But it was weird. Why would Shadow suddenly be going against everything she had said prior? These weren't acts of selfishness. These were pure selflessness. That's when I realised she wasn't. This wasn't Shadow. It was a new voice with a completely different view on life. A much lighter one. Having a bit more creativity at this age, rather than just call this girl Reflection or Mirror, I decided to name her Miria. At this time, I became to see other people's emotions and empathise with them a lot better. Combine this with Shadow's deception and mind logical thinking, and I became a master at strategic games. I also have a strong desire to help people now, helping couples get together, dealing with students who bullied others, and I never had to resort to physical violence for any of this. I would set up scenarios where I'd always end up winning. A favourite strategy of mine would be goading people into fights in places where CCTV cameras could see us. One of two things would happen here. Either I would get to insult them to my heart's content and then they'd fuck off and leave us alone, or they would punch me, in which case the cameras caught it and I can easily get them in detention. And if they really wanted to try that again, go ahead. I know where the cameras are. But that only really worked against female bullies, as this was back when men really didn't want to be seen hitting women. Male bullies would require a bit more of a tactical approach. And by that I don't mean being a whore, I mean doing some more creative stuff. It's a whole story I'll tell you later. This mindset felt like a superpower. I wasn't good at sports, I didn't have a lot of friends. Heck, I couldn't even get a boyfriend. But the sense of power was just so much fun. Stories about light and darkness teaming up became some of my favourites. Strategy games became a beloved hobby of mine. Drama became my best subject. I loved writing stories, songs and poems, all about light being used for evil and darkness being used for good. I started becoming extremely good with strategic exercises during cadets as well, especially the stealth exercises, which then translated into my love for stealth mechanics in video games. And this was all thanks to Shadow's deception, my critical thinking, and Miria keeping everything in moderation. I told a few friends about this, and they all thought it was pretty cool. I eventually decided to talk to my mum about it, and she became concerned. Not about my actions, but about the voices themselves. She wanted to see if she could take me to a psychiatrist and find a cure. To me, that was a big fat hell no, and I stopped telling everyone about them in case that would happen again. I was not prepared to risk these two. During my psychiatric evaluation, I made absolutely no mention of them. I wasn't going to risk some kind of schizophrenia diagnosis and have medication that would suppress the voices. After it was all over, nothing happened regarding Shadow and Miria, but I was diagnosed with autism. Autism that specified an over-reliance on logical thought. Keep this in mind for later. Skipping forward to college. College is not the same as it is here in the UK than it is in America, don't get that confused. College is 16 to 18 for us. At college, we had to pick 4 options. 3 of my choices were easy, but for the 4th, I wasn't quite sure, so the careers advisor gave me a little survey. After answering it, they recommended that I go to the psychology taster and see what I thought, and that's where everything changed. The taster session ran over a few popular theories, and one of them stuck out to me more than anything. Freud's personality theory, as it was listed on the whiteboard. After that class ended, I immediately rushed down to the college library and searched for a book that dived deeper into this theory. I remember opening it and reading the tripartite personality theory, and finally, an explanation for my situation. The darker desires of Shadow, the moral justice of Miria, and me, the one that was diagnosed with autism after I dismissed the others during an evaluation. All of the pieces fit into place perfectly. Now, how did these subconscious personalities manifest as audible voices? I didn't know, and I didn't care. In my eyes, they were a gift. I couldn't talk about them anymore, but I still wanted to celebrate them. So I decided to write them as official characters in my book series, and even tried making a game about them. They features NPCs during a D&D campaign I ran at the school, and the kids absolutely loved them. But I kept running into problems when I was writing their characters. I kept making them into parodies. My brain is so rotted with dark humor and shitposting that I ran into a sort of Marvel problem, where they just kept making quips all the time. It made sense for Shadow to be an unhinged sociopath, but not so much for Miria. So, what is my solution? Well, seeing as though I have this channel, which is already unhinged, why don't I let them join in on the fun as well? My friend got me my old Lyra model as a birthday present, so I asked him to ask his modeler to commission 2 new outfits for me, using my Shadow and Miria designs as reference. I've been able to keybind each of my personalities into a simple button press, so I can change them even during streams. I think this will be pretty fun, and I hope you look forward to this new format. Naturally, I will still be the star of the show, but I'm sure they'll show up here and there if they have something to say.
As long as I got you, baby.